Welcome to Batten Builds Bridges.
We're your hosts,
Meghan Clancy,
Catalina Perez,
and Jasmine Rangel. This is a Batten podcast where we will delve into various issues that current Batten students face and how they relate to our identities and policy areas of interest as future policymakers.
We hope that we can engage the Batten community to have a more honest, in-depth conversation surrounding these important issues.
This is a mini-series on the topic of first-generation students at Batten, featuring pre-Batten students, Batten BAs, and Batten MPPs.
We hope you enjoy learning more about our first-generation community here at Batten.
For our 6th episode in this series, we interviewed Carlos Rodriguez, a first-year pre-Batten student.
My name is Carlos Rodriguez. I'm a first year here at the University of Virginia in the College of Arts and Sciences and pre-Batten.
Awesome.
Yeah, I identify as first-gen and low-income.
All right, thank you so much. So I'm really interested in hearing how your experience as a first-year pre-Batten student has been so far. For instance, I know you'll be in one of the prerequisite courses next semester, right?
Yeah, so I'll be taking social psychology next semester. But in terms of like my experience as for my first semester, now that we're heading into Thanksgiving break, it's been. I do remember it like the first few months being quite stressful, quite like really hard. And also like I had my own problems like coming in and back home also that was like I'm really worried about. It was not easy at all.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that we kind of share as first gens is oftentimes not only are we struggling with the stuff that our other peers are at school, oftentimes, especially when you are first gen and low income, there's a lot of stuff going back home that adds additional stress that our other peers might not be dealing with at the same time. So I think that's something we can definitely relate to on there.
Definitely.
So since you are in your first semester here at UVA, I'm curious to hear why Batten. Like, was your first gen status a factor at all, or like what drew you to Batten specifically?
So I remember coming here, and I just got immediately just in touch with the Latino community, Latinx community here at UVA. And so this one individual, his name is Brian Zuluaga.
Yeah, we interviewed him earlier for this. Awesome.
So yeah, he was just pretty much the middleman and like introducing me to Batten. And after that, I was just like really invested in learning more and realized that somewhere like I probably want to, I guess, head like, get into leadership and public policy. I think for me, especially like where I think I want to go in my direction in life and wanting to give back to my community, I think Batten would be the best choice for me.
In reference to Brian and maybe BLN in general in Batten, do you think that was a huge factor in making you, like, attracting you to Batten, that you saw representation of people that already were having similar experiences as you? Was that a huge factor for you?
Definitely, like, it's very hard to explain. But yeah, like, just because there was already someone who looks like me who has shared like similar experiences, who's already in that position that I want to be in. It's just definitely helpful since like he was just telling me just like how like the process was for him, like how it's changing, especially now that there's like more first gen and low income students here at UVA. So
yeah, and I think that's an important point to underscore is that attracting and supporting first gen students in Batten is automatically going to diversify the student body, and the importance of seeing representation already in Batten for you, I think, is a huge factor for a lot of students, not only first gen, but other aspects of our identities as well. So I know you're very new to the process, but how has it been navigating it so far? It sounds like Brian has kind of been a mentor for you, but have there been other resources either on Batten's website or workshops that have either supported you or that you feel like maybe you've come across some barriers in that process?
So I know I went to the BLN night. They had like a joint night with the Latino commerce group, and they just went through a process for both schools, and I thought to me that was just very helpful. Having the admission representative there also as well, so I asked some questions, and then on the website also just clarifies like questions like I had, like what prerequisites like I had to take. Like I didn't know, like I was already interested in Batten coming into UVA, but like I just didn't know how do I get in, like how do I apply. So definitely like BLN and like those support networks, and then the website definitely was super helpful for me.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's really important with being transparent with what the prereq process looks like, because I think especially for first gens, application processes can, because you're in it alone and we don't always have our parents to rely on for whatever reason, that can be a huge barrier, an additional application, like once you've done the UVA application and thinking about another one. So I think the fact that they're being transparent and actively seeking out students around grounds is awesome. So since you're not quite in Batten yet, but I have every hope that you will be, I don't see any barriers there. What experiences so far at UVA have made you most aware of your first gen status?
Well, that's a very interesting question. Definitely, I do remember. I was like just eating like dinner with a bunch of guys, and like I remember this one guy and just saying like how, in the summer he's gonna work an internship with his dad's company, and immediately I was like, oh, I can't do that because my dad works for somebody, and like people were like telling me like, oh, they're like doing this for summer, like did this last summer, like flying out to like different countries, or like telling like how easy it was for them to like navigate the college process. Like they already knew they were going to UVA, so they didn't apply to that many schools. Like I applied to 36 schools.
Wow.
Because I just
36.
yeah.
Wow.
Just because I just didn't know like
Yeah.
what I wanted. I didn't know, what was the right fit for me. So like obviously UVA has been very hard because I've been in a small school my entire life. So like this is really really big change, a really big culture shock. Coming from the Bronx. So yeah, I just realized that I was just at a disadvantage, just even like already being here, just because I didn't know like what to do. Like a lot of my peers have been like generations in UVA,
Yeah.
and I'm the first in my family to ever go to college. So it's definitely been difficult just because like they already know like what they're coming in for. Like, oh, I already know I want to go in commerce. I already have like my credits. Like I only came in with 3 credits. I don't have a lot to like, I guess necessarily quote unquote offer when it comes to like wanting to be competitive for when applying to like trying to like applying into a different school outside the college.
Yeah, I think that's my experience as well when it became very obvious that even though I was in the same university as my continuing generation peers, that not only our academic background was very different, so maybe I was, competitive on paper, but the types of classes that my school offered didn't necessarily put me on level playing field, even though I was here taking the same classes. And on the other side of that, the social capital side of talking to people that have access to these internships that I couldn't even dream would be a possibility for someone coming from my background as well. However, I will say that I think there are things that first-gen students have to offer that continuing generation peers don't, because we've had to navigate so many of these processes on our own. We've learned to really be self-advocates, and I think we have a resiliency component that makes us ultra-competitive. As long as we can have those equitable opportunities, I think we can definitely show people that we have something equally as valuable to offer. So in our closing question, I'm curious to hear if you could make one recommendation to Batten that would improve your first gen experience as a pre-Batten student, what would you propose?
Better food. No, I'm just joking. I'm joking.
Hey, we are
I'm joking.
Batten for a reason.
No, I actually love the food. Every time for Batten hours has been great.
Yeah, right.
But I think one suggestion definitely, I think being more, I guess like just like reaching out more, especially to like just the first gen community, knowing that like I don't know a lot about like my other peers that are also first gen, but for the most part I get that like the feeling that a lot of us don't know what we're doing or like don't really know what we want. Like getting like misguidance by like some advisors or like trying to follow what other people do. Like, hey, like I do like want to make a lot of money, but then I don't really feel commerce would be for me, or like I don't feel like this certain major would be for me. So I think just being more, I think like reaching out, like, hey, like this is what Batten has to offer. I think so far like they've been great, but like I do know like I have like a lot of friends who are also first gen that like are interested in maybe like wanting to run for office, like working on Capitol Hill or like or being just involved in public policy. And they asked me, like I would say to them, oh, like are you interested in Batten? It's like, oh, what's Batten? And to me, it's just like, I think there's still a lot of work to be done, especially in trying to reach out to like these low-income communities and first-gen students. That there is a lot of opportunity. It's just not like, I guess like very open. Like out in the open. Like, you have to find it.
Yeah, maybe seeking out different areas. I know they've started doing application or interest meetings at the Multicultural Student Center.
Yeah.
I know that they were there earlier this semester, but I think seeking out more of those diverse spaces, I think will not only diversify their applicant pool, but on the other side of that, diversify what Batten looks like. And, I think that's extremely valuable. The more voices that we have in a room, the better policy is going to be coming out of
Definitely.
Batten. Anything else you want to add today?
Now I'm just like super excited. Obviously UVA has been a journey so far, but I think I'm pretty invested in Batten is what I want to do. Right now it's just like trying to like have that resiliency, like to keep going, to realize that it is a dream and it is like a goal that I want to accomplish. You just have to keep going forward. Like, it's gonna get harder and harder, but there is a goal in mind to like go back to the community and like give back and change our country for the better. So I think that's something.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
is that where you see yourself going? I know you're from the Bronx, so on the other side of Batten would be going back to the Bronx. Is that?
I really don't know.
Yeah.
Because like it's very hard to tell the future, but it is like a goal like that I have set. Have it be just locally or like even citywide. Back in New York City, I feel it's just a responsibility as like coming out from the Bronx and like having this opportunity to be at UVA. Like, it's only right that I like give back and like give the same opportunity that was bestowed upon me to like others who are looking, like, who are hungry to like get out and really make an impact.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's something that really hasn't come out of any of our other conversations with other first gens yet, is that that responsibility that we take on because we value these opportunities so much, not only being here at UVA, but getting into a competitive school like Batten, but also those competitive internship opportunities and what we will do with that on the other side. I think because we feel so connected to the diverse communities that we come from, but we want to go back and we want to make a positive change and provide more access to other people that like didn't make it to UVA with us,
Yeah.
because even though we're here and we may struggle when we're here, we know that there's a lot of people that didn't make it here. And I think that is really that's what motivates me as well. And it sounds like that's what motivates you. Well, Batten would be lucky to have Carlos, and I hope to see him there. You would be the class of 2023?
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, thank you so much for sharing today.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the series. I want to thank Carlos again for coming out and sharing his experiences as a pre-Batten student. I'm so grateful that he took the time to speak with us today. I think he offered a lot of insight into the things that Batten is already doing to attract first-gen students, especially in their support of BLN, who does an amazing job of reaching out to underrepresented communities across grounds. However, there are other diverse spaces where administrators can bring Batten to them, since the recurring theme in a lot of our interviews has been the intimidation factor of the larger workshops or being around continuing generation peers who are so confident in their decision to choose Batten and also in the strength of their applications. So while efforts on part of Batten to go to the MSC and do application workshops does not go unnoticed, there are other areas for opportunities such as more diverse CIO meetings and potentially going into the first year dorms and doing workshops as an option to attract first-gen students and other underrepresented identities in Batten.
If you have any topics or personal stories that you would like to share with the Batten community, we welcome your voice. Just contact Catalina, Meghan, or Jasmine. Thanks for listening.